Well, despite that awful start to the season, those technical tweaks we made at the start of this week do now mean going into the new year, we're second on the table, just 1 point behind top Scunthorpe United. So hopefully we can find a way to keep ourselves there, even go above them during the course of today's episode. But we take on two decent teams in Ebbsfleet United as well as Bradford City. And we've got quite a few injuries. I'm guessing that's because in real life, I'm recording this on April Fool's Day. Let's hope at some stage those injuries just disappear, because otherwise we could be in trouble. Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 20 of Rookie to Royalty here on Shaun Does FM with Buxton FC. I hope you're doing well and come up today. We've made our way forward a bit further than I thought we were going into today's episode. Skipped over to December seeing as we took on a bunch of mid teams who we ended up beating. So instead of playing those type of teams, we'll take on two decent ones. We play Ebbsfleet United at home and then Bradford City, the pre-season favourites, away. So hopefully you guys are looking forward to that. But this comes off back of yesterday's episode, all the way back there near the start of November. We took on Reading in the first round of the FA Cup, and then Newport County at home in the National League. A big result there against the team who at that stage were up in second in this division. So if you missed that one, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner. Obviously, I've got for a fair bit since then. I said we'd probably come back around the Dorking Wanderers game. I was a bit quieter at work than I thought I'd be today, so in the end actually have got through a fair bit of Football Manager, so we've made our way through a place of much more interesting games in today's episode. But you can see it there, a sea of green since that episode. A 1-0 win over Torquay. Those guys down in 23rd, to be fair, that wasn't that good a performance. Thankfully, a goal there from a late free kick to David Carson did mean we escaped with 4 free points from that one. Then a 3-0 win over Dagenham and Redbridge away from home. So certainly a better performance there, considering that Dagenham and Redbridge at that stage were up around 5th in the National League, and backed it up there with a 1-0 win at home over Halifax Town. Then we got stuck into the third round of the FA Trophy. We picked up a 4-0 win here over Ebbsfleet United. Those guys are down below the National League North and South. So definitely expected to win that game and did put out a pretty heavy rotation for that one. But you'll notice there, we did try a different tactical shape. We put out the Buxton Blitz. It did okay in this game. We did change it going to the last 15 minutes or so, and then we'd actually pick up the same amount of goals as we did in the first bit of that game with the Blitz. Did want to give George Morgan a rest there, saying as I accidentally got Zach Henry to play for the under-21s, and then actually realised this would be a good game for the Blitz until I got to it. And then Henry was unavailable to be selected, but did okay in the first part of this game with goals there to Morgan and to Cole Kelly. But certainly, once we switched back to the Buxton base, did look a bit more efficient there in front of goal. A couple of late goals there through Lehane and McKnight to make sure we did pick up a 4-0 win. You can see the stats though, very dominant, just not quite as good in front of goal as I think we were when we switched to the much lower tempo. So I think here still the Buxton base is what we go with, even at home against some quite bad teams in the FA Trophy, but thankfully made our way through the third round. It does mean in the fourth round we'll probably come back for that. Quite an interesting tie. We take on Elchincham, those guys down in the National League North. They're up on top of that. Of course, that's the team that we beat last season in the fourth qualifying round of the FA Cup. So they're probably looking for some revenge in that game at their home stadium. Hopefully we can beat them, especially with the form we're in these days at Buxton. Of course, last season they were near last in this National League, so hopefully we can beat them again now that we've found our feet up a division, and certainly have found our feet, because off the back there of that third round winner in the FA Trophy, 3-0 over Gateshead, 2-1 over Dorking Wanderers. Thankfully bounced back there from giving away a penalty in the second half to pick up a late winner through Alice Lehane. Then we beat Maidenhead United 2-0. That was relatively comfortable second half goals there to McLean and Caden Kelly. There was a game though where we had to change things late thanks to a red card, and that was away at Aldershot United. We actually had to put out here quite a heavy rotation for this game anyway, considering lots of tired boys off the back of that free game week we did have prior. And then with about 15 minutes left, David Carson got a red card after we got off to a fly there thanks to a Cole Kelly goal. It did mean that we actually shifted to the Buxton block late on in this game, seeing as Mohammed was already there starting in defensive midfield. So the last 10 minutes or so of this game, we just tried to hold on there with that Buxton block. Unfortunately, it doesn't show there on our tactic in the bottom right, but indeed, once Carson did get that red card, we went to playing 5 at the back, and thankfully just did enough there to pick up a win. Stats-wise, we were pretty lucky, but thankfully going low tempo just for some reason seems to be working for us here currently with this Buxton team, even with quite a heavy rotation, even an Eric Hambury goal for this game, because Casper, the ghost, was out with a virus, which is actually quite a long-term one, and off the back of that win with 10 men, then beat Southend United. Of course, that's a team that beat us 6-2 on the opening match day of the season, 3-1 at the Tarmac Silverlands, thanks to a Caden Kelly double. So a sea of green since you've last been here, despite the fact that we have been dealing with quite a few injuries ever since just before that Dorking Wanderers game. We'll actually touch on that before we have a look at the league table. Just coming back recently with a George Morgan from a tight Achilles, Cole Kelly from a bruised ankle, and Zach Henry from some pulled knee ligaments. Over on the left-hand side, though, a couple of quite serious injuries that have been a bit more long-term and in general to some quite important first-team players. First up, Sebastian Williams is out currently with a twisted ankle for 1 to 3 more days. Might be back in time when we take on Bradford City second up in today's episode. Thankfully, we've had some good backups there in Charlie Pavey as well as Caden Kelly while he is out, but still that's not ideal. Hopefully, he might come back during the course of today's episode for that Bradford City game, as well as that Charlie Casper, as mentioned, got a virus just before that Dorking Wanderers game, which involved that red card to Carson. He's still out for another 8 days, so he won't feature in either game in today's episode. Hopefully might be back in time, though, for that 4th round clash in the FA Trophy when we take on Altrincham. And to cap things off, a really big injury, which I was kind of hoping might be the April Fool's Day joking game, but unfortunately it was a proper injury. Ben Midgley, a hip, is out for 2 to 3 months, so it does mean currently actually quite weak there in central midfield, especially off the back of that red card to Carson, which thankfully was just for 1 game, because otherwise it was just Will Truman. And honestly, he's not that great as that central midfielder, despite the fact he was really good for us last season. But Midgley is still out for 2 to 3 months, so thankfully we've got Carson back for these games in today's episode. And we did pick up some good results despite all those injuries, especially in those last couple of games. And in terms of the table, we've surged all the way up firmly inside that playoff picture. I think when we finish things off at the end of yesterday's episode, we might have been around 6th there, not too far above the teams in 8th and 9th. But these days, we've put a big gap even on Bradford, 5 points clear, and just 1 point of Scunthorpe United, who do sit in that lone automatic promotion spot. And also our goal differential is actually a little bit better. So certainly this Buxton base has been working. I definitely think it goes a bit better than both the block and the blitz. Definitely the blitz. The block can still be quite useful, as we saw in that Aldershot game when going down to 10 men. But we find ourselves here in some superb form. Fingers crossed it continues. In this episode, we take on 2 pretty good teams who sit 5th and 3rd on the table, not too far behind us, albeit points-wise, there is now a little bit of a gap, which hopefully we can build on. First up is Ebbsfleet there, down in 5th, but to be fair, we are now 10 points above them, so you'd like to think this is a game that we can win, especially being at home. These guys got off to a flyer at the start of this season. They were the team that beat us in our last game before we did switch to that Buxton base. And the other tactics that we did cook up, they come into this one in some mixed form, though. Did lose to Bradford, drop points to Morecambe, and also actually lost to Aldershot a couple of games ago. That's quite interesting considering we just bet them, went down to 10 men for a little bit, but also beaten some half-decent teams in York City and Woking. So we'll see how we get on here at home against the team who did beat us earlier this season, albeit from memory. That was a pretty late goal, which did feel a bit undeserved, where they did beat us 1-0 there at Stonebridge Road, the team that's led by Sam Byron. And then we'll come back pretty much immediately unless something weird happens in between games and take on Bradford City, the red hot favourites pre-season, go straight back up to League 2, but they continue to slightly underperform, albeit not as bad as it was when we drew with them earlier this season. I think back then they were down around 12th. These days, all the way up in 3rd, firmly inside of a playoff spot. But again, their recent form a little bit mixed. They've dropped points to Morecambe, which is never good if you're dropping points to Joey Barden, and also lost to Woking as well as Aldershot Town. But to be fair, we're able to beat Ebbsfleet. But definitely give respect those guys at the University of Bradford Stadium. But in our current form, I'd like to think here we can just try and keep rolling and pick up some good results, albeit these are definitely tougher teams than we've taken on in the last month or so in this safe pretty much ever since we took on Newport County at the end of yesterday's episode. So hopefully can keep this good form going, albeit I dare say we might trip up here at some stage during the month of January we take on some decent teams away from home, we might end up losing a game in this good run that we are on. But currently on something like 10 games here without suffering a defeat, and in the league, it's about 11, so doing quite well here with this Buxton team, which is definitely above what we were expecting to do here this season off the back of those tactical tweaks that we did make. Fingers crossed it continues all the way through to potentially the playoffs, because we certainly should be taking part in those now. And actually, if Scunthorpe at some stage do drop points, then maybe we could even be in with a sneaky chance of gaining back-to-back automatic promotions, albeit I'm expecting at some point our form to slow down just a little bit, because definitely no chance we go through the rest of the season in the National League undefeated, with a team expected to finish down around 21st to 24th. So we're doing really well here with this Buxton team. A little bit surprised that we're not starting to get some interest from some bigger clubs. But to be fair, quite happy here, even though the money has gone down a little bit in the finances. Hopefully the Tycoon will top that up soon. But in terms of us, obviously Hanbury in goal with that virus that Casper's suffering, and also with those other injuries to Williams as well as to Midgley, it does mean we've got Carson there in central midfield coming back from that suspension, and we've got Caden Kelly in there in the advanced playmaker role. He's in some really good form, has been doing a great job when he's needed to step in there for Sebastian Williams, and also means that Charlie Pavey comes onto the bench as that midfield cover, as he can cover that advanced playmaker role as well as both wings. So quite handy to bring him up from our under-21s. But so far this game has been quite quiet, albeit we're all over here Ebbsfleet with 5 shots and 2 on target. But unfortunately, not much to see yet. But as I say that, we've got a highlight here starting with a goal kick we pump out left. Eventually get it midfield here. Caden Kelly will find George Morgan. That ball somehow finds its way through to Luca Colville, but unfortunately a decent save there from the Ebbsfleet goalkeeper to tip that one over the bar. But all over Ebbsfleet here early in this game. Now a corner, we try and find Morgan there at the near post, but unfortunately he can't get his head on the end of that one. Ebbsfleet can clear that one away, and the highlight comes to an end. But now another set piece. Morgan, he goes closer, comes off the woodwork, then gets a chance to bundle it home, but somehow it doesn't make its way over the line. So a good couple of chances there for George Morgan to open the scoring. He can't quite take them, so unfortunately we're not 1-0 up, and hopefully that won't prove too costly. Jake Leake there with a yellow card now quite late in this first half, so I dare say we'll take him off for Kazim going into the second half. But unfortunately it's 0-0 in a game that we definitely should be leading. A 1.31 XG is quite high for us. We'll make that sub as suggested. Kazim coming on for Leake there at half time, but a bit disappointed that we're not in front. We'll tell the guys they're doing okay. Ebbsfleet, definitely a team expected to finish a lot higher than we were this season, so we won't upset the boys. We've got them in a really good mood at the moment. Our dynamics are through the roof. Let's make sure they stay happy, and hopefully all the green dots, they will keep flowing as long as possible, despite the fact that we're now getting into a little bit of a tougher patch this season, kind of rewinding back to the start with our upcoming run of fixtures. Now, unfortunately, Caden Kelly dropped down there to a bit of a deep red heart quite early in the second half, so Charlie Pavey can count on for him there with our second sub. Just going past the hour mark, still on the front foot, but not much happening here so far in the second half. And now we make our way into the final 20 minutes. We're just about to see if we maybe need to make a sub take off Morgan for the Hane. But as I was thinking that, we've got a throw in here inside of the final third. Colville will let off a shot, and somehow that's made its way through more than in goal for Ebbsfleet, and we take a 1-0 lead. I think we deserve that based on the overall stats from this game, and somehow as well there we get some luck keeping that ball in, despite it pretty strongly hitting that corner flag. But more gets his wrist that shot from Colville, and it goes in behind him into the bottom right corner. So a bit fortunate there in scoring that goal. So because of that, we won't make too many changes just yet, and now we actually will, because Connor Kirby drops down to a red heart. Lindley might need the game time, but considering we are only 1-0 up, we'll bring on Mohammed, a better ball wing midfielder than Lindley is, the Ginger Ninja. And also, while we're here, let's make sure that we do start to time waste sometimes, just to make sure that hopefully they don't get a chance to work their way back into this game. But thankfully, we eventually do break the deadlock, a goal kick not too long off the back of that, which thankfully we are able to keep the ball from. And now we try and get something going here down our right-hand side. Pinion plays that one back there to Mohammed fresh on the pitch. The other Ginger Ninja, who's actually playing this one, and Carson gets that ball, goes back to Hewlett, and now McLean does quite well there. Keep hold of that ball, was under pressure there from 3 players, but that is a poor pass, and now a chance here for Ebbsfleet on the counter-attack, and Henry makes an absolute meal of it. He's learnt some stuff off Onana back when he was at Manchester United, and we concede. So off the back of that, we'll stop doing that time wasting. That is gutting, because we've been so much better than these guys in this game. We did not make it count though, especially in the first half. To be fair, quite lucky with the goal that we did score in this. Is an absolute mess there, Hanbury. Could have just waited potentially a little bit more, but to be fair, that ball was quite well weighted. He had to do something there because that striker did get in behind our defence. Unfortunately, we concede as that ball did get loose, but now thrown inside of the final third, and Luca Colville will hit that one home from a wee way out as well. So now it's time for us again to time waste this time even more and turn off that pass into space, but somehow we've come back and take a 2-1 lead. So thankfully, that goal that we conceded, which was a little bit dirty, we have bounced back from that header. Was from a fair way out more there, probably could be doing a little bit better, but thankfully we actually win a ball there at the far post, which is quite rare, and make it 2-1. A pretty similar highlight here, only a few minutes later. Can't quite find Colville, but thankfully do keep the ball here, and hopefully might get a chance to put this game to Ben McLean. Will cut inside, take on a shot, and Moore comes up there with a good save as we steadily make our way into 6 minutes of added time. Hopefully Pinion here will take his time over this corner, indeed he does. Now if we can find someone like Morgan here at the near post, might get a chance to put this game to bed. To be fair, he might actually be at the far one, indeed he is, but unfortunately can't find him. Pavey is back on the ball for us, but unfortunately we'll float that one in there. Pretty easy work for Moore in between the sticks there for Ebbsfleet, but only a few minutes later, another chance here from set piece. Unfortunately can't pick out Morgan that time at the near post, but get the ball back here, and McLean will try and put that one top right corner, but unfortunately that one does just go over the woodwork. But lots of highlights late here in this game. Thankfully, just did enough there to pick up a 2-1 win. In terms of the stats, it's definitely a game that we deserve to win, but it took a long time for us to open the scoring, and from there it became an absolute highlight fest. Colville with that fortunate goal with 15 minutes left, then a bit of a shocker at the back there from Eric Hanbury as well as our defence off there. I'm pretty sure a poor pass from Mohammed that did lead to that giveaway and that long ball over the top, but thankfully only a few minutes later Colville got down the right end and could head home a ball there from a thrown inside of the final third. So we continue this good winning run here with this Buxton team, and now go 7 points clear of Bradford, who are about to come back and take on. Unfortunately though, we're still 1 point behind Scunthorpe. So we just do enough there to beat Ebbsfleet. Now we've gone forward a couple of days to take on Bradford City away from home. These guys up in third, the pre-season favourites. Definitely expecting here a much tougher task. Now unfortunately David Carson got an extra couple of suspensions for 2 games for that red card he picked up when we took on Aldershot. So it does mean again we're quite light in central midfield. Have put a bit in for a free transfer considering how long-term that injury to Midgley might be. So hopefully that guy might sign for us at some stage, otherwise might be quite weak there for a little while. But Bradford coming to this one in some pretty average form, obviously drop points considering we extended the gap on them with that win over Ebbsfleet first up in today's episode. But in terms of us, it does mean that Truman comes in there in central midfield, and also Lahani up top with Henry on the bench because George Morgan is on a heavy workload, quite injury prone, but also actually his form in the last couple of games has dropped off ever so slightly. But an early throw in for us here inside the final third. A wisdom ball there from Leake, who took the throw in. He finds Caden Kelly, who rockets that one into the top right corner. Absolute thumping effort from him to get that one past the partially injured Bradford goalkeepers. That's quite an interesting choice there from Bradford. That could prove quite costly. Thankfully, first shot on target, we make it count here in what looked like a pretty tricky game away from home. To be fair, we do take on some quite good teams away from home in the second part of this season. It does include Scunthorpe, who we beat 4-1 in the first half of the season at the Tarmac Silverlands. If we can do that away from home, we should hopefully get a chance to go top and maybe get automatic promotion, as long as we can continue this great run of form that we are in early stages here. We are on the attack at Bradford, but unfortunately that one won't count. Some good counter-attacking play, but Lahani did just straight offside. So halfway through the first half, we've had a couple of good chances. Thankfully, did take the first one, but now we're down the wrong end for a throw to Bradford, and this time looks like they will keep the ball. Lee plays that one for there. Carson goes back there to a teammate, but thankfully that shot is from well outside the box and goes quite safely over the crossbar. So still holding on here to our 1-0 lead, but Bradford now are starting to work their way back into this game. I'm pretty sure early on with this Buxton base, we took these guys on at home. We did look like in quite a good position to pick up 3 points from that game, but in the end, they came back and made it 3-3. But making our way here into halftime with a 1-0 lead, I think we'll take that. The only shot on target so far in this game, and to be fair, everyone out there is doing a decent job, so no changes needed going into the second half. Hopefully, can just at the very least hold on here to our 1-0 lead, maybe grab one more goal to make sure we pick up all 3 points from this game. But I'd actually be quite happy with just the point, considering it's away from home against the preseason favourites, but off the back of that first half. Hopefully can find a way here to hold on. We make our way now towards the last half hour. There's not much happening apart from the fact that Alfie Pinion did just pick up a yellow card, but now we have a corner. Unfortunately, can't find Morgan at the far post. McLean will try and put that one top right corner. It comes off the woodwork, and Bradford have to clear it away for another set piece, which Jake Leake here is going to take this time, looking for the middle of the box, but unfortunately, there's no one home as Scunthorpe. Unfortunately, 3-1 up there over Aldershot Town. Unfortunately, we now give the ball away, so a chance here for Bradford to potentially do something on the counter-attack, but thankfully Regan Booty gets the ball, and that highlight does come to an end. But it's time for us now to make a sub at right back. It's going to be Zay Mohammed again, who does come on this time for Alfie Pinion. Probably a little bit better defensively than Hayden Lindsay. Usually would have David Carson to come on off the bench, but that suspension does mean that he's not there. And also, of course, he would have been starting over Will Truman. And shortly off the back of that, it's Caden Kelly, who drops down to a red heart. Charlie Pavey can come on for him. With 20 minutes left, still only 1-0 in front. So a cushion goal here will be quite useful. Mohammed will put that one far post. Unfortunately, no one home, but good hustle there from McLean. Get that ball back for us. We put a ball there over the top, and Pavey goes down. A chance for us from the spot at the 69-minute mark. It would be oh so nice if we could make this 2-0 through Colville, who did miss a penalty in that recent block-out play off camera. Thankfully, this time, it's a much better penalty. He sends Cisse the wrong way and makes it 2-0. So to be fair, the injured goalkeeper hasn't been doing too bad a job in this game off the back of that early strike that we did get in the back of the net. But that is a good chance for us from the spot, which we do take now. Both our wingers are down to red hearts, but considering we've already brought on Pavey for Kelly, I think the option we have to take here is Zach Henry getting some game time at right wing instead of up front, and hopefully can hold on to this 2-goal lead. But a highlight straight from the restart here as we make that sub. Bradford are looking to try and work their way back into this game. Pedinson tries to play a ball forward there to a player on a yellow card, but thankfully we cut that one out. Pretty sure it would have been through Adalusi. Now Henry with those fresh legs just on the edge of the box. Back to Mohammed, who picks out Kiwi. Now Truman will try and put that one top right corner. Actually thought that clipped the woodwork, but instead it's a Cisse save. So certainly highlight-wise feels like here we're on the front foot, and still with this 2-0 lead off the back of that goal, we did score from the spot. Now Lee tries to put that one over the top. Unfortunately, it does get cut out, and then only a few minutes later, there's another highlight here, which does start with Bradford on the ball. We try and put some pressure on them up front there through Alice Lahane with some good pressing, but unfortunately, at the moment, Bradford do keep hold of the ball, and they find their Morris down the right-hand side, who can now get them going forward. But good work there from Leake with an interception, and we're back on the attack. Lahane here on the left-hand side of the box tries to put that one into the mix, but Morris makes up there for his mistake and gets that ball back. And unfortunately, we can't do anything or put good enough pressure on them there to keep ourselves on the front foot in the right area of the field, albeit from the clearance. Do get that ball back. Leak here. We'll find McLean squares it for Lahane, who should put this game to bed by finally scoring a goal and making it 3-0. So this actually has been a pretty good display here at Bradford City. Was not expecting a 3-0 scoreline, despite the fact that we have been in such good form, but we eventually there get the ball out left, and McLean can square that one for Lahane, who was doing some pretty good pressing during the course of that highlight. Thankfully, can put that one away and give us a 3-goal buffer.
Yeah.
Albeit now, we might get tested. Eric Hambry has picked up an injury, and we've got no more subs left. So I dare say he'll have to take off someone in that midfield of ours, either Truman or Pavey. we'll have to go back and play goalkeeper. Truman can do a job defensively, so I think that's what we'll do with him. Charlie Pavey, we might have to use as a goalkeeper. I'm pretty sure from last time this happened, most of our players only have a 2 goalkeeper ranks. I'm not too sure if it'll make too much difference who we put in goal, despite the fact that Pavey might be a little bit of a midget. We'll go a bit earlier on that frequent time wasting than we otherwise would. Fingers crossed that injury is not too serious there to Hanbury. To be fair, I think Casper should be back in time for our next game in about a week or so. So that actually could be quite good timing for that Hanbury injury. Thankfully, doesn't look like it's going to prove too costly here. We've already made our way into 7 minutes of added time as we get the Hane there to ease off tackles with that yellow card. But thankfully, we haven't had a highlight since that goalkeeper injury. That's a very good performance away from home against what's supposed to be a good Bradford team. Caden Kelly got us off to a flyer there at the 2-minute mark, and then a quick double off the back of a Colville penalty. Then Lahane made it 3-0 with about 15 minutes left. That late injury, a bit concerning, but thankfully, I think we might be okay. Still got Reece Truman down in our under-21s if we really need him, if Casper is still out with that virus. But thankfully, it shouldn't be for too much longer. That's 2 more good wins for us here with Buxton during the course of today's episode. Unfortunately, I do think Scunthorpe, they were winning their game, and indeed that was the case. So unfortunately, we're still not on top, but we've put a 10-point gap on Bradford just behind us on that league table. So we are absolutely flying here with this Buxton team at the moment. In the National League, we picked up 2 more wins, and this time against teams a lot better than what we've taken on for the last month or so in the save. And it does mean we keep ourselves in second. So to be fair, not much movement there in terms of our table position, but we've put a big gap on Bradford and are now 17 points clear of those teams who do sit outside of the playoff spots, and definitely no danger of relegation. We're 32 points clear of Southend. I don't think we're going down this season. We should at the very least be in the National League for 2026-27, but hopefully with our current form, might even find a way to get promoted up to League 2. Just before we wrap things up though, for today's episode, we did have that injury to Eric Hanbury in that game. Thankfully, did not prove too costly. In fact, Scunthorpe only actually held on for a 1-goal win. So unfortunately, Aldershot there are quite bad. That's of course the team we did beat, went down late to 10 men. If only they were playing someone decent away from home, they might have dropped some points there and we might be on top of the National League. But a quick update on Eric Hanbury. It is quite serious. A broken collarbone. We're probably going to have to send him to the specialist for that injury. It means he's out for 6 to 7 weeks, but thankfully our next game is in 6 days. Charlie Casper should be back in free, so we should be okay there with our goalkeeping situation, but certainly not ideal. But thankfully, it kind of does come at a good time and a good situation with that 3-0 lead in that Bradford City game. But that will do it for today's episode. We continue this great run of form here at Buxton ever since the start of this week, and now are up in a super strong second in the National League. If you enjoyed that one, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell as well. Now I'll come back at the start of next week. It will be for our very next game, because Altrincham in the FA Trophy 4th round, as mentioned earlier, there's a bit of history there with that final qualifying round game we played against them in the FA Cup last season, away from home, despite the fact they're in the National League North. That could be a potential banana skin, so we'll come back and hopefully make our way through there to the 5th round of that FA Trophy. Hopefully this season can go quite deep in that competition, and we'll also probably come back, skip over Morecambe, because they're Joey Barton's team, and we play them at home. I'd like to think on recent form we should be beating those guys. We'll come back as well and take on York City away from home. They're only in 10th, but we're supposed to be quite a decent team, predicted to finish in 2nd, but their recent form is absolute trash, to be fair. So again, a couple of games which hopefully we should be winning. We'll see though if our good run of form does eventually come to an end. If it doesn't, it will mean at the start of February a massive game against Scunthorpe away from home. So fingers crossed we can get into that with us being in a strong position, maybe overtaking them on top spot of the National League. But next time we'll come back for Altrincham and York City. So until then, thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.